Canva is becoming a formidable force in the tech and edtech worlds with the announcement of their Visual Worksuite. I'll share what that is and about two of the big new components of it today. Also, some of you can get auto-generated summaries for your Google Docs, and all BookCreator users can now add multimedia comments on specific pages. Welcome into episode 12 of the EdTech News Brief. I'm your host, Jake Miller. This is the show where, as the title says, I tell you about the EdTech news and I keep it brief. And by brief, I mean clear, concise, and just what you need to know. Nothing more, nothing less. This is episode 12. It's October 20th, and I've got some EdTech news to share with you. Well, last episode, I was celebrating back-to-back weeks with episodes, and now I'm celebrating back-to-back months, I guess. Yep, it's been more than a month since episode 11 aired, and it's a shame because there are so many updates for me to tell you all about. Speaking of you, the you that I have to tell you about, who are you? Who is it that I'm communicating these updates to? Who are you? Who? In that last episode, I asked what the nickname for EdTech News Brief listeners and viewers is, and I still don't have an answer. On YouTube, the YouTube account Between the Lines said, call us EdTechies. I like it, but what about the rest of you? EdTechies? What do you say? The Briefs sounds too much like men's underwear. Probably not a good idea. So how about the Briefers? No, that sounds weird too. The Newsies? No, well, that's a musical already. I think I need your help on this one. Let me know what you think. Just comment on YouTube or on social media. Anyhow, let's start off with some big news from Canva. Canva has been moving and shaking lately. I've recently shared about updates to Canva Video, the addition of Canva whiteboards, Canva presentation enhancements, and some Canva courses for students. But they went and topped all of that with the Visual Worksuite. The tool that used to be a novelty for creating visuals and print media can now do darn near everything. Their Visual Worksuite now includes docs, whiteboards, presentations, social graphics, videos, print graphics, and a whole bunch of print things, and websites. Their site calls it the perfect end-to-end solution for businesses, nonprofits, educators, content creators, and anyone who wants to make an impact with visual communication. And I think they're right. These tools all use Canva's familiar drag and drop editing, so once you're used to it in one spot, you'll just apply it in another spot. And we all know it works really well. And best of all, they're all collaborative and work with the recent addition of Canva for Teams, meaning you can identify a certain set of collaborators that you work with, have a shared set of resources, a shared set of files you're collaborating on, and a shared collection of brand materials like your school colors and your school logos that everyone can easily access. The most exciting ones here in the Worksuite, in my opinion, are docs and websites. So let's talk about those. Canva Docs is currently in beta, and you could sign up to join the waitlist at canva.com/docs. Their site says it will be a visual-first document creator that allows you to design documents supercharged with videos, images, graphics, charts, and graphs. If you're happy with more stripped-down docs with just words and text in them for the most part, then you're probably going to be satisfied with Google Docs or Microsoft Word. Honestly, they almost certainly have more of the functional tools that we expect from a document creation tool. But if you want your docs to be visually appealing, then you're going to want to check this out. And guess what? Your students probably prefer eye-catching docs themselves, so you may want them to use Canva Docs instead. The site reports that Canva Docs will have a drag-and-drop editor for adding and editing visual content, hassle-free data visualization tools for adding checklists, tables, graphs, and charts, and Canva's extensive content library of videos, images, graphics, and more. For that content library, you could just type a / and it'll show you the options right then and there. Or, of course, you can just go to that side menu like you normally do. You can also collaborate, you can comment, and you could work on any kind of device. For the most part, that's not all that different from what you could do in Google Docs or Microsoft Word, but they're thinking out of the box here too. Check this out. You could share your docs online and viewers can interact with it like a website. You could track audience interactions such as who has viewed your docs and when. And, this might be my favorite one here, you can easily turn your doc into a Canva presentation using their Docs to Decks feature. Check this out. You can even create and embed other Canva designs like whiteboards and other visuals inside of those docs from right in there, as a matter of fact. It does look, however, like Canva EDU users will be capped at 100 gigabytes of storage for all of their designs. That's quite a bit, and it should be plenty, but it's worth keeping an eye on this to see just how big these eye-catching documents are and if we're going to have to worry about running out of space on them. I'm guessing we won't, but it's worth paying attention to. So there are 3 kids in the Miller household, and they're at 3 different schools and have a grand total of like 16 teachers or something like that. Oh, and 2 baseball teams, 1 soccer team, 2 basketball teams, 1 play, 1 tarot card reading class, 3 different student councils, an assortment of like 4 different school clubs, and yeah, it's a lot. My wife seems to be able to keep it all straight, probably because she's superhuman, but I keep getting it all mixed up. And it's hard for the schools and their teachers too. It's a challenge to keep families informed. There's a lot going on, everyone is busy, and no one has time to read. That's where today's sponsor comes in. Smore offers a one-stop shop for school communications. Smore is an easy-to-use online newsletter tool that lets educators create beautiful, interactive updates that parents actually read. Get started with their pre-made templates, easily drag and drop photos and files into them, and you could even reach all families by leveraging their automatic translation feature. Want to add a video introduction to your newsletter? You could do that too. Smore is trusted by more than 1 million educators across almost every school district in the U.S. Visit smore.com/podcast for a special discount and to learn more. As a part of the Canva Visual Worksuite, they've added the ability to build one-page websites, no coding required. Unlike Docs, it's not in beta. It's ready to go now. As we're used to with Canva, they have a ton of responsive templates all ready for us to customize. Also, as expected, it uses their familiar drag and drop setup and gives you access to tons of content. Like most contemporary site builders, Canva websites are automatically optimized for desktop, mobile, or tablets. Once you're ready to put your site out there, you can make a custom URL that ends with my.canva.site, or use Canva to purchase a domain, or finally connect it to your own existing domain if you own one. You can also set them up to have password protection, which is nice for educators and students for some privacy there. Once your site is out there, you can also track traffic and engagement, like how many visitors the site has had. This is part of the pro version, but it's free on Canva EDU. And again, collaboration, commenting, and the possibility of using it within Canva Teams are all built in because you're on Canva EDU accounts. As I alluded to when I told you about Canva Docs, you can also take any document or presentation or PDF, etc., and turn it into one of these responsive websites. So if it's content that's somewhere else in Canva, you can click some buttons and it will make it a website for you, and then you can customize it to meet your needs. Canva Websites is free to all, though some features are not free. However, Canva EDU accounts have access to just about all of it, aside from a few things like buying domains. Obviously, they're not going to give you free domains, but everything else free for Canva EDU users. I should point out, it appears that users on free accounts are limited to 5 sites published on their Canva domain. Again, though, I don't believe this will affect you on an EDU account. Just if you're on a personal free account, 5 accounts only hosted on their domain, but probably you can make as many as you want and just not host them there. So, believe it or not, there's actually more news from Canva, like a lot more news from Canva, but I'm going to hold on to it until the next episode. So be sure to tune in to hear about more Canva updates and additions. Up next, some googly news. Recently, I shared about adding summaries to your Google Docs. You do that in the left side menu where the document outline is. Those summaries also show up in other locations like in Google Drive. What I did not share or realize at that point was that for some of you, those summaries will be auto-generated, at least if the document is long enough. Yup, you did all of the work on the doc itself. Why should you have to do all of the work on the summary as well? You'll find what Google calls a suggested summary in that same location, and you can then edit them if you'd like to. The announcement says that these are available to Education Plus users, but not Education Fundamentals users. That's nice of them to communicate that to us, but you might be thinking, Jake, aren't there 4 education account types? What about Education Standard and Education Teaching and Learning users? Well, dear listener or viewer, I have no stinking idea, because does Google make their communication about their accounts clear? Nope. There are now more than a dozen account types in Google, when you count non-education ones, and some updates clearly list whether they apply to all of them or not. Well, this one only lists some of the account types. So help me out. If you know what kind of Google Workspace for Education account you have, Plus, Fundamentals, Standard, or the Teaching and Learning upgrade, I'd love to hear if you get summary suggestions. And if you work for Google, seriously, is anybody that works for Google listening? If you work for Google, I'd love for you to tell someone to make your account level and feature availability messaging clearer. Seriously, in those posts where you announce these things, just add a chart at the bottom, the same chart every time, with some check marks or X's to each announcement, and tell us which accounts have that feature and which accounts don't. Like a smiley face and a frowny face would do. Just a simple chart, list the types, and put those smiley faces and frowny faces. Come on, sheesh. Is it really that difficult? Recently, BookCreator announced that we can now leave comments on every page of a BookCreator book. But not just text comments. No, we can leave audio, video, GIFs, stickers, and emoji comments too. Just a note, you may have to install an app for some of those. Like, for example, the Giphy app, for example, isn't built in. You click on a few buttons and you get that app added in there so you or your students could use that. Each comment, by the way, has the option for an emoji reaction so that you can communicate that you've acted on the comment or you agree with the comment or whatever you might be using it for. And if you don't want students to comment, just click on the comment settings cog to turn off commenting. Finally, you'll get notified when someone leaves a comment in one of your books or when a student leaves a comment in an assigned book. This feature is available on all BookCreator accounts, though, of course, some BookCreator accounts that aren't paid have a limit for how many books you can have and how many collaborators and things like that. But the commenting feature, there for everybody. Hey, don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, click the thumbs up to tell me thanks. Click subscribe and ring that notifications bell. If you're listening to the podcast, don't forget to follow the show or subscribe if that's what your app says. And if you have a moment, please submit a review. Hey, I just scheduled another speaking event for 2023. By the way, can you believe it's almost 2023? Like, I for real thought we'd be in flying cars by then. Anyhow, I just scheduled another speaking event that takes place in 2023, and my son's baseball team is starting to schedule tournaments for 2023, and my daughter is starting to schedule plays to audition for, and my other son is practicing headers for his time on the soccer field in 2023, and my wife is scheduling vacations and adventures. So if you want to grab one of my available spots for speaking events in 2023, time is of the essence, my friends. Send me an email and we can set up a time for a call to discuss how I can help you and the educators you work with. Towards the end of every show, I always like to answer any questions that you have. Lately, I've been going through questions that were asked back in the spring when I did a survey about the edtech tools you use and what you liked and disliked about the show. Some questions were asked in there, and I've been going through them. This is my last of those questions, so that means I need more questions to answer. So if you have questions about certain edtech tools or anything like that, I'd be happy to answer them. Send them to me at jakemillertech@gmail.com or message me on any social media platform or head over to speakpipe.com/edu duct tape. So here's that last question that's remaining from the survey. This listener said, can you provide a checkoff list of all the apps you listed in one of those questions? One of my biggest challenges is not remembering all the questions there are out there. So I'm going to pause right here on this question. So in that survey, I listed, 80 different edtech tools that I thought were the most commonly used and asked how many people use them. I thought that would be really useful data for me and just good information to have out there. And this person was saying, I want that list, Jake. Can I have that list, right? So the answer is yes to that, but let's continue with the question. So this person continues, I would love to have this list on my wall. Better yet, how about a flashcard flip set to a there's no comma in here, so it's hard to read this part. Better yet, how about a flashcard flip set, flip to a card, and make sure you use that today somewhere in your lessons. So let's break that apart. First, can I give you a list of these apps? Sure. Second, you want to hang it on your wall. If you're a edtech coach or instructional coach or technology director or supervisor, I think that's a great idea to hang on your wall. If you're a teacher, please don't worry about all 80 of these educational technology tools. Please just pick a few. You don't need the whole list, but I'm going to provide it to you anyhow. And third, the idea of flipping a card to a spot in a set and picking a tool to use, Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Please base your decisions on your edtech tools based on your pedagogy and your learning standards and your students and what you're trying to achieve in your classroom. It should not be based on a card you pull out of a set of cards to tell you what edtech tools to use. Think about what you're trying to achieve and use the right tool. Sounds like I'm on my soapbox from another podcast. If you're not familiar with this kind of messaging, after this, you're going to want to head over and listen to my other podcast, the Educational Duct Tape Podcast. But anyhow, I did promise I'd give that list. So what I did was I took the exact list from the Google form, copied it, and pasted it into a page on my website. It is at jakemiller.net/edtech-tool-list. All one word, edtech-tool-list. And that link will be in the show notes and the description of the YouTube video as well. So you can click on it and jump over there. I'm not guaranteeing it's a complete list. I didn't go through and add new things. Flip might be called Flipgrid in that list. I haven't done any, work to make sure that list is a perfect list or anything like that. It's just whatever was on that list back in March of 2022 when I posted that survey, just so you have it if you want it. It is there. And then if I do a survey this spring, which I plan to, I'll update that list maybe and put it up there. So again, questions, you got them. I'll answer them. Send them in. jakemillertech@gmail.com or @jakemillertech on any social media, or speakpipe.com/edu-duct-tape. And finally, the way I cap off every episode is with a dad joke straight from the World's Greatest Dad Jokes, the complete collection, over 500 cringeworthy puns and one-liners book. For today, did you hear about the thieves who fell in wet cement? They were hardened criminals. I really appreciate you tuning in. I hope that this episode was more fun to listen to or watch than watching cement dry. And I hope to be back again next week. And I really hope that you will be back again too. I'd really appreciate it if you do those awesome things like rating or reviewing the show on Apple Podcasts, liking or subscribing to the show on YouTube, following the podcast in your favorite app, and of course, sharing this episode. See you soon.